On this episode, Ben and Joe are talking pod counts. See how our emergence test using Tripidity ST biostimulants turned out. If you are listening on the podcast, head over to the YouTube episode to see the differences in the pictures. Secretary Perdue was in Iowa on tour this week and is going to offer support to farmers devastated by the derecho on August 10th. Producing high-quality seed is important to us at Merschman Seeds. We have field inspectors out in all of our production fields throughout the growing season, and with harvest being upon us, we will be deploying field inspectors again before the combines roll.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Cup of Joe, Season 3, Episode number 5. Today we have our regulars back. We have Turk and we have Tommy, and Ben's on the road. So let's just jump right in there with Ben. Ben, we got a bunch of pods here. I know you were busy yesterday. Tell me what you did yesterday and what we've got here.
So basically what you're looking at there is our Tripidity test that we did. And if we want to kind of go back and recap that, at the beginning of the year, we had some Kennedys treated with Saltro with Tripidity on them, and then we had some Kennedys treated with Saltro without Tripidity. And I went through and every day I flagged first emergence, and then the next day I flagged the second emergence with a different color flag, and then the third, and then even going on to the fourth. And I finally went back around yesterday afternoon and pulled plants, and I pulled basically 3 different plants. They were all in the Tripidity session, but what I wanted to kind of highlight was how important it is to try to get the beans to all emerge at the same time, because there's some advantage for all the beans that come up on the first day. So what I did is I'd find a plant that had emerged on day 1 and a plant that had emerged on day 3 right next to each other. And I pulled 3 different plants of that. And Joe, you have the numbers on how that looked. But visually, you could tell a difference because those plants are sitting right next to each other. They both have similar stalk size. They both have similar everything else about them. But the pod count is extremely different when you're looking at the plants that emerge on the first day versus the plants that emerge on day 3 or day 4.
Yeah, Ben, here's how the counts come out. So like you said, you went out to the field, and the first time you saw a soybean popping through the ground, you put a flag next to it, and then you went back and pulled that flag. And that represents this row right here with Tripidity ST, Bonus Coated Plus, with Saltro and Tripidity ST. So these are ones. How many 1 bean pods we got? This is 2 bean pods. This is 3 bean pods, and this is 4 bean pods. And what variety is this, Ben?
Kennedys.
These are Kennedys, okay. And one of the things I noticed about Kennedys, it does not throw a lot of 4 bean pods. If you want a lot of 4 bean pods, go to Monroe, because that thing is just loaded with 4 bean pods. But anyhow, here's your numbers. We obviously, you can see that 1 and 1 on the one bean pods. On the 2 bean pods, the Tripidity ST had 49 pods versus 34 pods. That's 44% difference. And then on the 3 bean pods, 189 for Tripidity ST versus 142. That's actually a 33% increase in 3 bean pods. And then when you look at the 4 bean pods, we found 2 in the check, and then the Tripidity ST had 1. So visually, I think everybody can see that day 1 emergence with Tripidity ST is worth a lot more yield potential. And this is going to go to yield versus looking at the pods day 4 or day 3, Ben?
There was a combination of day 3 and day 4 there, but what I was trying to find was the ones that are right next to each other. And I'd like to also highlight, we're not going to see a 33% difference in yield, but what we're highlighting is the exaggerated effect of what it looks like when you have the first day of emergence versus the 4th day of emergence. And if you have a lot of plants that are sporadically emerging, if you don't have the help from the Tripidity, you're going to have yield loss because certain plants are going to be having to compensate more than the other ones out there. So the 33% difference, I don't think we're going to see a 33% difference in yield, but I do think we're going to see some advantage there. And there's always advantage to get all the beans up evenly and try to have an even stand on day 1, just like what we see in corn.
Yeah, Tripidity ST is designed, it's a biostimulant, it's designed to mitigate stress. So in other words, give all the nutrients and amino acids and extracts and different things, many parts to that Tripidity ST, trying to give that soybean, if it runs into stress, enough energy to keep pushing, just keep going. So we are seeing some differences here, and we'll see what the yield is. But I agree with Ben, you're not going to see a huge 33% increase. You're going to see an increase, but not to that level. And again, we counted a pod if it was a pod. Now, some of these pods, because it's been a little bit dry, are probably only going to produce 2 good solid beans. So we'll see how it all turns out. So interesting test. We thought we'd show you the preliminary results so far, and we have many more locations. So then that will give us a better data set once we get more locations and more pod counts. So that will continue as we head into fall. And then obviously the only thing we really care about is yield, because I'm not sure what the going rate is for pods. I know what it is per bushels, but not for pods. So, but this is a good indicator that what we're doing is significantly different than other companies' seed treatments. And that's what we wanted to drive home. When you go and buy your seed and they say, oh yeah, it's treated, if you're not getting the kind of combination and parts, and think different parts, the 10-step process that we're putting in, you're not getting the same thing. And again, as we've talked in other episodes of Cup of Joe, there is a huge cost difference between seed treatments, the basic seed treatment versus one that gets up into this level of sophistication. So we're just educating you on that aspect of it. And biostimulants are the new frontier, where that's where seed treatments are headed. And if your soybean seed treatment does not have a biostimulant in it of some type, and we think this is the best one, by far, it's from the Rosen company, we feel you're missing out on some yield potential. So Turk, what's going on this week for you?
Well, I got my coat on today, Joe.
Yes.
So it was a little chilly this morning. Things is cooling off here. It's that time of year. And so the beans are recognizing that too, and we're starting to see some beans turning, and we're starting to see some getting some calls for inspections or inspectors to come out. So there's a forecast for rain next week, maybe 2 to 4 inches across the upper Midwest, and if we still got green beans, it'll probably help a little bit. But those beans that are starting to turn, probably not so much.
Yeah, these beans are here clearly in R6, so and what R7 is physiological maturity. So we're heading there really fast with this drier weather that we've experienced here. So that's something that if you haven't got the combine out and got it ready to go, and same thing with corn, it's drying down fast too. So it's going to be here real quick.
We had one of our customers went out and checked some corn. I think it was in Nebraska, and he said he was surprised that his corn was down to 22% already. He didn't really think it was, and he was saying, "Holy smokes, I got to get to going here."
That's good. Well, we like an early harvest as long as the yield's there. That's all positive. Anything else, Turk, that you would like to talk about?
Perdue was in Iowa this week, and Sunny Perdue,
Secretary of Agriculture. Yeah.
Yep. And he was taking a tour of basically all the damage in the derecho area, and talking about support for farmers, and they will continue to support farmers, and not only in this disaster area where that section is, but in general, do everything they can to support farmers. Obviously, crop insurance is a huge part of what it is, and it's going to be the mainstay of all farmers that have losses, as far as the crop part of it is to work with your crop insurance company. And so crop insurance is an important part to help manage risk.
Yeah, I'm hearing that they're turning that corn down under. They're not even going to attempt to try to harvest it, and so they're turning the ground black. So that's an indication that they're zeroing those yields out.
That's what it appears, yes.
Okay. All right. Tommy, do you have anything that you've been out talking to farmers and dealers and on the sales side, and what's going on there?
Lots of excitement, a lot of buzz, Joe. Things are heating up. It's hard to believe it's September already. With the way the sales season's already gone, it feels like it's November, December. with everybody going very, very quickly. I wanted to cover a couple things as far as what we've seen in certain areas. Obviously, we're seeing some white mold and even some sudden death with the stress that we've seen in the past couple weeks of the drought or the dryness, I should say. So we're starting to see that some soybeans going through quite a bit of stress. And that's just a year that we've had with the early, kind of the cooler temperatures we've had in May, and everything would point towards an early harvest at this point across most territories. Like Turk said, things are drying down very quickly, almost catching people off guard, and the fact that it's drying down so quickly. I have a couple things I wanted to bring up. One was for seed growers anyway, to start getting your seed bean fields inspected. We look to be at least 50% leaf drop before we make that phone call into the office and get our soybean fields inspected, which, you all know that's part of our quality control check as far as having all of our seed production acres inspected by a seed inspector. So that's just kind of a little leg up that we do for quality, and just a reminder to get that step done. But keep an eye out on the white mold and the sudden death, and know where those areas are. And obviously on the lower areas where the water's flowed and hung out, we're seeing some pretty green beans yet, and then up on the ridges it's pretty dry. So I would say everything's pointing to an early harvest, but everything looks pretty decent compared to what we've gone through this year.
And orders are coming in, aren't they, for Enlist E3 and LibertyLink GT27s?
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, I think you've seen the supply sheets, and I think it's extremely satisfying seeing how fast some of these products are flying off the shelf, so to speak. And I think everybody's on board with our Merschman quality first, and having the germ that we do and the supply that we do and the service that we have behind it. Customers are very excited to even work with us for the first year. So.
Well, talking about quality, Tommy, I'll bring a little bit of an update here on our seed plant, both seed plants, in fact, both down in Olmsted and then also here in West Point, Iowa. Yesterday, we fired up the new color sorters, and we were actually doing soybeans yesterday. Not new crop. We were still working with old crop, but doing the testing to get them adjusted and getting ready for a new crop. So the plant is progressing and will be ready in time for soybeans. So I know some of the local seed growers were asking me if they're going to have the plant ready, and I said, don't worry, we'll be ready. We won't slow you down. So that part's going. So we're going to see a new level of quality from Merschman Seeds, both out of Olmsted, because they started installing their color sorters this week too. So the whole it's a race to get ready, and we'll be ready. And our customers are going to see higher quality this year with these new color sorters, which, as you know, are primarily used in the food grade industry. For example, popcorn, every kernel of popcorn is looked at. The advantage of a color sorter is that you're taking a picture of each individual beans from the front and the back, comparing it to a set of parameters that you set as far as what you determine quality is. And then it will look at each bean individually and decide if it meets these quality standards for both not only shape but also color, and then we'll let it go by or we'll kick it out. So we're excited about that new improvement. So that brings us to the corny jokes. And Turk was telling me before we started to film this episode that that this is pretty much the highlight with coronavirus going on right now. The only thing you really got to look forward to is Joe's corny joke. And I thought, oh my gosh, what? I don't think it's that bad. But anyhow, let's get right to it. What do you call a dog? What do you call a cold dog? What do you call a cold dog? A chili dog. Okay. All right. Now this one here you might relate to a little better. The reason I'm doing the dog jokes today is because last week it was National Dog Day. Okay, I don't know if you missed it or not, but a week ago, last Thursday, was National Dog Day. Okay, what does my dog and my cell phone have in common? What does my dog and my cell phone have in common? They both have caller ID. Caller ID.
Yes.
Well, that'll get you by till tomorrow, maybe. Anyhow, as always, thank you for your support. Thank you for your business. We hope that you and your family are safe and continue to be safe and healthy. We'll see you next week.